I want to first off start off with asking about the current state of U.S.-Taiwan relations. Are Taipei and Washington the closest that they've ever been?
Well, I certainly think that the U.S.-Taiwan relationship is very strong. It has really been moving from strength to strength. There is so much that binds our two societies, our peoples, our countries together. And concern about China's pressure on Taiwan is one of them. Our economic relationship is extremely strong. And I think that we do face some uncertainty going forward. We do have a new president in Washington. I think it's not completely clear yet how President Trump will be approaching Taiwan. But you know, Taiwan is not alone because every country in the world is facing some unpredictability with Trump and pressure. And so I think that there's no reason to believe that the relationship will not remain strong going forward. But there will be demands, I think, from President Trump, and there will be a little bit of adjustments. We've already seen President Trump put pressure on Canada, on Mexico, on Denmark, because President Trump wants to acquire Greenland. So Taiwan is not alone.
I do want to ask about this word change. So recently, the United States State Department on the Taiwan fact sheet, I'm going to read this verbatim, dropped the phrase, quote, "We do not support Taiwan independence." Bonnie, I want to ask you how significant that change is, and is the United States trying to say something without saying it?
Well, first I would say we don't know who changed that language. You might remember that early in the Biden administration, that same sentence was deleted, and approximately 1 week later, it was reinserted in the website. So nobody talked about how that happened. But this time, my view is that there is a perception in some of the people in the administration that we don't have to say all the time that the United States doesn't support Taiwan independence. Partly because I think the government here thinks that it needs to be said all the time. But the important thing is that this is not a change in policy. And it's quite clear to me that the other language on the website, that the United States opposes unilateral change in the status quo by either side of the strait, already covers that the United States doesn't support Taiwan independence. So it's not a change in policy. I do have a bit of a concern that because we are in a transition in our administration, and there's anxiety, frankly, in Beijing, that they might overreact to this change in language. So it might be seen as very welcome here, but I hope that we don't see a very strong reaction from China.
Whether it's the public displays of aggression in the legislative sessions, or agreements or disagreements on defense spending, whether it's the submarine or conscription, when it comes to, like you mentioned, about the first step of having both sides agree and then engage with the United States, how big is that obstacle of both the KMT and the DPP not agreeing in order to see the common good, which is the defense of the country?
I'll tell you an anecdote. When I met with the delegation from Taiwan that attended the Trump inauguration, and the day after the inauguration, they all met with members of Congress. I believe they met with 24 members of Congress. It was like speed dating. They each had like 15 minutes. And I heard from the delegation members that every member they met with was concerned about defense spending and the budget here. But of course it goes way beyond defense spending, because the freezes, the cuts are affecting many different aspects of your government and society. And I think the United States is quite concerned about that. We certainly have polarization in my country, in our political system, but I have to tell you, there are issues in which there is some bipartisan consensus and agreement. And I think that Taiwan really needs to figure out how it can, the steps it can take to best defend the country, to ensure that the foreign ministry is doing its job, the defense ministry, the Ministry of Interior that's doing part of this whole of society defense resilience. It seems to me that right now this is a pivotal moment. And if if the budget is not approved and the society is not able to move forward in a positive direction, then I worry that this is something that will create more weaknesses and vulnerabilities in Taiwan that Beijing can take advantage of.